Haunting the Midwest, you will find the Lake Michigan Monster. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. I am pleased today to have the filmmakers behind Lake Michigan Monster, Ryland and Mike. Hey, good to see you. Or Mike and Ryland. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up on the little Chiron here. But you two are sort of the main creative, which I think when you've got as many credits as you do, I mean, when you're doing a small indie movie, you're wearing 900 hats. You know, that's just the way it is. And you might even be doing craft services. But this is such an original, weird, bizarre movie that was born from one of my favorite genres, which is your old school sci-fi from the 50s. But it's like one of those movies, but if you did mushrooms. So,
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, is that an accurate description? It's like, I mean, Creature from the Black Lagoon is one of my all-time favorites. And I feel like this movie kind of owes a debt to those old school 50s B movies, and Lake Michigan Monster kind of clearly was inspired by that, and a little bit of SpongeBob SquarePants, and a little bit of, I don't know what you guys are drinking or smoking, but probably more of that. How did this whole
inspired by alcohol, Chris?
So yes, well,
trying to make a party movie, yeah.
Well, it's definitely I mean, you could turn the movie into a drinking game. If you haven't as yet seen Lake Michigan Monster, it's out in virtual cinemas July 31st, and it's on the Arrow app starting August 3rd, is what I'm told. And there'll be a DVD release, which I really want to see the DVD because I need to know the behind the scenes of how you put this all together. But how did you guys come together creatively to put together this project? It's such an original. Most people get together and I'm like, yeah, well, it's a road movie, and you know, it's an indie film that has like your typical tropes. This has none of that. How did you guys come together to bring this crazy film to life?
Yeah, well, we've been working together since high school. We grew up in Milwaukee, where Lake Michigan Monster is shot and where it takes place. And we just hate indie movies, Chris. We just didn't want to make a regular indie movie. No, I just think, in film school, it's always conversations between two characters in a room with white drywall behind them. And we didn't want to do that. We just wanted to make something really fun with a lot of crazy images. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we like indie movies, but we're just trying to make this a little closer to the entertainment value you get in a bigger movie where there's action and jokes and monsters and a lot of entertainment. And yeah, as far as monster movies, I mean, we've made little shorts together, but never anything spooky or monstery until now. This is our first feature working together.
Yeah, and people like to say that, it's inspired by, 50s B movies, which is interesting because now looking at the finished product, it definitely looks like one of those. But while we were shooting and making the movie, we didn't even really think about that. We just thought, what would be the most attainable movie to do? What would look like it had the biggest scope for the least amount of money? And this is what came out of it.
Yeah, it's not like a very specific... Yeah, like it's not a laser guided satire of the 50s B movie things. Like that movie Skeleton of Cadavra or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about, Chris?
No, I don't. I don't know that one.
There's like a satire that's like really laser guided that actually like takes down all the 50s B movies tropes really intelligently. And this movie is not that. It's more of just a template for a free for all. Like, right. It's probably more inspired by like Guy Madden and
like early Sam Raimi, Monty Python, that kind of stuff. But it is funny then the finished product it definitely is reminiscent of some of those 50s B movies. So look, they got it. They figured it out, 75 years ago. We're just a retread.
You don't really. I mean, those are all like really. They have a lot of entertainment without much money. So that in that sense, you just got to have a monster. And
well, now I totally see it with like the Raimi influences for sure. Like it definitely has that. But I think that I guess maybe I think B movie just because there's a monster. Although the monster, I don't want to give anything away. I mean, the monster is not as big a part of it as the characters. Especially the one that you play, Ryland. I mean, you play the lead, and where did this sea captain come forth?
Well, I think me and my buddies have always really enjoyed the big charlatan character,
The
if you
fraud
will,
archetype.
the big fraud. You know, like we're big Hank Scorpio fans. You know, in The Simpsons. You know, we just like these big characters who say and do things. And if they have enough confidence, you know, people go along with it. And that's kind of where the genesis started.
I feel like it's all from that scene that is so popular now where Skinner is hiding the fire in his kitchen from the superintendent. You know, that's become like this huge meme now. And I feel like we've
steamed
been,
hams. Yeah.
Yeah, steamed hams. And I feel like we've been doing steamed hams for 10 years. And I'm glad that it's finally taken its place in the Western cultural canon as a great piece of dramaturgy. But the Skinner saying yes when questioned about his lies, to me, is like Ryland's character he's been doing for decades.
See, now I see the influence. But the character, the sea captain, is just so, I don't know, it sort of collected this group, is really like passionate and funny and has like this motivation, obviously, for catching this sea monster. But I love the unraveling of everything about him. You know what I mean? Can you talk about that? I just found it so entertaining.
Yeah, we just wanted to, like the movie itself, Seafield's the same way. We wanted to basically make layers and layers of mystery on him. And why, like, who is he? Where is he coming from? Everything about his life is a question mark. And you can't trust anything he says or does because he always seems to have some sort of hidden agenda. And right when you think you have him figured out, something out of the blue will happen that is, you know, it can't be explained. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to keep an air of mystery, not only in the plot of the movie, like where is this going, but just, you know, who is Seafield? Who is this guy I keep watching on screen? And I think that added to the overall effect of the movie and the mystery behind the monster and all that jazz. So you just got to keep people guessing, Chris. You know, at the end of every single scene, it should end with a question mark. You know, it keeps the audience watching and guessing, especially when it's an indie movie that has no money. You know, you got to do everything possible to keep people invested and sticking around.
And then end way early.
And before 80 minutes.
Oh my God. I will say I do have an affection when I see an indie film and I'm just like, oh, I'll watch, you know, whatever. If it's under 90 minutes, it goes to the top of the list. Between 70, 80 minutes is my preferred running time. But actually, I mean, you talk about the movie being small. It doesn't feel small. It feels pretty big. I mean, there's some parts in it, like there's underwater scenes that you see where the character, you sort of see the POV of I thought that was really well done. And in addition to, especially the last third of the film is just really like filled with special effects, but not in a way that we're kind of used to seeing them. I mean, not that this is maybe me projecting, but I kind of see a little bit of a Eraserhead in there, just some like big effects that are done practically and strange. Can you talk about, Mike, some of those effects and like how, you know, what the vision for that was? Cause it's just bizarre and strange, the approach. Like, I don't know. I don't know that SpongeBob is the right comparison, but it had that sort of weirdness of it. It definitely had WTF going on. That's for sure.
Good. Yeah. I mean, I think we just didn't have a lot of money. And so I really believe you can make a strong image without any resources. And, you know, the whole movie was made for like $7,000. We finished the main body of the film. And then it was time to, you know, kind of deliver a climax. And we had done an animated project before. And we just said to ourselves, well, let's treat the ending of this movie like a whole nother project and make as many crazy, strong images as we can. The high contrast black and white and the graininess lets me get away with a lot when I'm compositing, because I can't composite at a professional level. Like I would be fired from like Spider-Man or something, but we can make strong South Park style images if we stick in this lo-fi style.
I think though, if they did that Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse 2, they should go into the Grain Train style.
Yeah,
then you could do it,
and the whole thing should be shot on your girlfriend's DSLR again.
Yes.
And I'll edit it and do every shot in After Effects in 1 hour.
So you used After Effects mostly for the special effects?
Yeah, I just stayed in After Effects the whole time for speed, and just in Premiere and After Effects where I can jump back and forth quickly. Just tried to do it in a way where any effects shot, only takes about 2 hours because it's just me, and I think we had like 300 effects shots. So there's not the money or time to like do the proper, like a team works on a shot for a day.
Well, by the way, the very first Star Wars movie had 300 effect shots. So
oh, really?
There you go.
That's something you have in common with the first Star Wars movie. But is this? Can you explain? Okay, so the special effects and doing it in black and white gave you a little bit more freedom. You didn't, you know what I mean? Like they don't have to be as fully rendered or as perfect, right? Is this the excuse and why you see a lot of movies that like the special effects, the big sequences happen in rain? I feel like rain is like, why is it so often used? And I'm thinking that's a cheat. Is that a cheat for effects, for people that work in effects?
Yeah, I think when Spielberg put that CG Tyrannosaurus Rex behind the rain, you can't tell which of those shots is practical and which is CG, right? I mean, that's such a smart decision that we keep. And I think, man, in those big superhero movies, they're always putting a ton of foreground crap or camera movement or dust or just anything in the way of the fake CG element. And I think for sleight of hand, you need to cover up the effect in some way and jump between different elements and cut intelligently. I don't know that we did that, but I think in general that's true.
Well, I think that these days there's just so many. I have friends that work in VFX for on Marvel and DC movies, and they're always talking about just the things they do to try to, because there's so many effect shots in a film these days that they have to look for ways to, kind of hide the fact that it's like, oh, these shots are due. You got to hit those deadlines. Because you got to hit that.
The staging gets unclear because they're focused on like covering their seams of their work at the compositing level, that they sacrifice the staging storytelling level. And so we just committed to having lame images, but keeping a strong staging.
I would argue it's not lame. I would say it's a style, or at least maybe that's something you can tell people.
Yeah, no, again, I hope all of you listening, go watch the film. It'll blow your mind. That's some drinks.
So that's the thing. Like, if you do it in a black and white grainy style too, sometimes all it takes is shoving the camera into someone's face and pointing a flashlight directly at their face. And all of a sudden you get like a dynamic, like spooky shot, you can do that with no budget, so in order to make strong images, you don't need a Hollywood budget.
Oh, yeah. Like the whole underwater segment at the end is just shot in our buddy Sebastian's living room. We covered 3 walls with green and the floor and the ceiling with green. And then we were in there for 12 days with our little storyboards on note cards. And then, 3 months in After Effects and a really good sound designer. And that whole like VFX sequence it's not free, but it's like basically free for, 3 friends to create.
Well, I will say that the last third of the movie, the big action scene is just way over the top in all the best ways. So kudos for that. Congratulations. I'll say if you're watching this or listening to this, look up the trailer for Lake Michigan Monster so you can check out and get a taste of what I'm talking about, and then maybe revisit this podcast after you've seen the film. What advice, Mike, would you give filmmakers? Well, for both of you, actually, what advice for filmmakers trying to do something on the scale that you did with nothing, which is basically what you achieved? I mean, you shot in your living room these effect sequences. What advice would you give?
Well, I would say, like I was kind of saying before, you don't need, you can stop the whole charade about, I don't have enough money to like shoot my magnum opus, and you got to stop coming up with excuses. Just, take whatever camera is not, available and go and shoot something, with friends or family, just cash in all those favors and physically force them to be in your film, of course. That's number one. But then, besides that, if you find a style like ours, which is, again, like black and white and grainy, you can cut corners and stuff too, which sounds bad, but actually ends up adding to the whole experience of the movie. I mean, like the costumes we got, for instance, like, oh, I don't have enough money. No, you do. Just go on eBay and get some stuff. Go to Goodwill and get some stuff. It's fine. It'll work just fine for what you're doing. So yeah, just stop waiting around and using and blaming this person, that person, whatever, because you're not where you are. Just you can always just go out with a camera with some friends and shoot something, and that's the first step. It doesn't have to be your magnum opus. It just has to be something
entertaining for an audience.
Yeah.
Stylistically, I think like you're not going to be Frozen, but you could be South Park.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, South Park, yeah, they found a style that no one else was doing. Yeah. And they found, like construction paper and cut little characters out of those and filmed them. And now look at it.
It's like what Mark Duplass has said many times, the cavalry isn't coming. You just kind of use whatever resources you have, and your girlfriend has a DSLR. So that's a good resource. So useful.
Yeah. And just, and then in the editing, Mike was always pushing too. We always let's get through every scene. We don't want to wait. We don't want to waste people's time. So obviously there is a sleight of hand to that as well. And Mike's, a professional razor sharp editor. So that obviously helps our production. But that's the other thing is like, nothing should be sacred in your movie either. Even though you shoot hours and hours and hours of footage, you can always cut it shorter, to move it along and whatever. So, so just don't be beholden to anything, and don't think so highly of yourself. Go out there with your phone and embarrass yourself with your friends.
What has been the reaction people have had when they see the movie? I can imagine it runs a gamut.
Pretty positive. I mean, we went to a lot of festivals, which we hadn't done before. Got to see it with a lot of different audiences. Very helpful as filmmakers to learn how people react to what we've done. I don't know. This was was there anything really negative that'd be interesting to talk about? I don't know. It was actually, it went pretty well. We've never been to, it went to a lot of fests, and it was at, it won the audience award at Fantasia somehow. And so for us, it was like, it's been really weird because it's like a little $7,000 friends and family project that has taken us to a lot of festivals, and now we're on Arrow Video somehow. So that, we've had negative reactions to stuff in the past, but this has been really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think across the board, people have really enjoyed it, and it's really all ages and theater settings, because we've had like daytime screenings where there's like kids, and kids really like it. They come up to us like after the screening and say like, oh, I'm so scared of the monster and stuff like that, which is really fun. And then there's times when we'll show it at a bar, and these old guys will get a kick out of some of the sexual humor, So there's something for everyone.
Well, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, there's really nothing inappropriate. I mean, maybe the drinking, which I thought that was good. How that was woven into it. I noticed you guys are drinking now. What are you drinking?
Having some old fashions until T-Boils reopens here in Pasadena.
Oh my God. I am craving an old fashioned. There's the Raymond, which is on Fair Oaks. There's the 35er is closed right now.
The Raymond's got a great cocktail program going on there, Chris.
Oh God. Yeah, they do. And I saw that the White Horse may be closed. It looks like it's closed for good. So I don't know. Look, I can't look bars. I just want bars to open to have an outlet, because I have realized I'm not good at making an old fashioned. So this is a skill I have yet to attain in quarantine.
Well, hey, if we're your last interview for the day, swing on by. We'll have a socially distanced old fashioned.
I'm thinking of trying to. Oddly enough, Yard House up on Colorado has a happy hour. They're still doing happy hour. I'm thinking of heading there after this.
Oh, because they're outside.
Because they have like this little outside area. So this is our, we're fortunate that our biggest concerns right now are what bars aren't open. So
those are the biggest concerns right now.
It's in my top 10 maybe, but not in the top 5. But you guys, congratulations, Mike and Ryland. Lake Michigan Monster is super fun. Highly recommend it. I also recommend it. Drink an old fashioned while you're watching it.
Yes.
I think is probably a great thing. And thanks again for being on the Film Threat podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Let's go drink.
Yeah.
Well, howdy. Let's go.